So this is gonna be our corporate tax avoidance project.
By Wesley, Felipe, and Janari.
So we're gonna be the first slide is about the table of contents. These are all the topics we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna be talking about common review terms, what is corporate tax avoidance, and how is it a problem, and then go down along the list. So next slide. So simple terms that we have to define that we haven't learned so far is corporate tax itself. So corporate tax itself is the basically tax on profits a company has, and the corporate tax in the US right now is 21%, and corporate tax avoidance in this case would be to send their profits over to another country that has less tax on their profits. So for example, Bermuda or Ireland. And then subsidiary is a company owned by a parent holding company. So subsidiary is basically, an example would be like Procter & Gamble. And Procter & Gamble have basically companies, they have majority ownership of Pamper and Gillette. And that is basically a subsidiary. So what is the problem in America right now? The big problem is basically reducing, their goal for tax avoidance is to reduce their large federal corporate tax. And how they would do that is they would shift billions of dollars of profits earned in the US to offshore foreign subsidiaries. So basically this would mean less profits and less tax being put on, being given to the American citizens, because basically the states lose 10 to 15 billion dollars a year due to profit shifting, and this is bad because substantial revenue states could be like using to provide to K through 12 teachers for better pay or for the infrastructure of our cities could be lost due to these profit shifting opportunities that the companies are using. So evidence of tax avoidance. So a report from Gabriel Zuckman said that $369 billion in profits were shifted to 13 tax haven countries. And then the federal government lost 60 to 94 billion dollars worth of profits as a result of profit shifting. And then examples of companies that have used this tactic would be like Apple, Cisco, eBay, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and it's proven that they've underpaid their taxes, their income taxes, by a combined $277 billion by shifting their profits over to tax haven countries like the ones listed up here. So it'd be like Costa Rica, it could be Bahamas, it could be Ireland, yeah.
Alright, so I'm going to talk about the four CSTs that they can relate with our topic. So for the first one, we have common good. It violates the CST of common good by an erosion of public resources, meaning how, like how corporations, they avoid taxes and it hurts the government in terms of funding and for public services that can result in like healthcare or education that people need. Another one is like injustices towards like wealth distribution, meaning how tax avoidance like results in like wealth and corporations, like their shareholders making like their economy like unequal, and it's not fair for those workers. And then for weakening community solidarity, it kind of, it relates with solidarity in terms of like how it just weakens like the community and like the profit that goes for the collective as a whole, showing how solidarity is also connected with the common good. And then so like an example could be like Amazon.
Yeah, so example could be like Amazon, which has paid minimal tax payments to the US government. And this is largely over $11 billion from what I read. And this profits that have been lost due to profit shifting and tax avoidance, could have led to multiple billions of dollars in infrastructure for housing, for social security programs, for social welfare programs that for people that are underprivileged, and could have helped the country as a whole.
And then for participation, it violates a CST of participation by the gap between the wealthy and the poor. So obviously, it says in Gaudium et Spes, which it says that it highlights a need for all people to actively engage in building a just society and ensuring that everyone has a voice in society, whether it's economically or in political structures. So this avoids, like, in terms of, like, you know, like just tax avoidance as a whole, like fewer opportunities to contribute to like society, and how corporations, they often avoid complicated financial practices that make it difficult for our people to understand, or like how public funds are managed. And an example is like Volkswagen in Luxembourg. It says that in Luxembourg, participation, the regime, like, it hurt the international subsidiaries from taxation, and the loss of funds for social welfare hurt those operating countries such as Germany. So, yeah. So for solidarity, this connects with ignoring our shared responsibility, hurting the people who need help the most. It creates division, and it hurts our economy, like, globally as well. So an example could be like for Starbucks, it said that I read an article saying that they paid 8.6 million pounds in the UK for taxes over 14 years. This achieved by routing those profits and putting those profit subsidiaries in low tax jurisdictions, meaning how it really hurt those other companies, those other coffee shops, by Starbucks creating that significantly higher like tax ratings. So it created an uncompetitive advantage in the UK. And then for subsidiarity, it hurts it by taking resources away from local communities as well, weakens local decision making, and has a dependence on higher authorities. So when this means like creating dependence on higher authorities, it means like with fewer tax contributions, those local governments and those countries, they often have to relate on like national resources and ability to respond effectively to like the community and what they need. And then an example can mean, so like for example, Walmart, they use offshore like subsidiaries to avoid taxes in countries such as Mexico and India, and this hurt them by those tax revenues supporting those other small businesses, and they had to invest in community markets, which without those resources, they couldn't foster that like economic growth.
All right, so closing tax loopholes through international collaboration. So there's an organization called the OECD. Basically what the OECD is that it's all good for number of governments working together to provide economical growth as well as more jobs available. And this, through OECD, we'll be able to close tax loopholes and of course profit shifting mechanisms as well. So this connects with the principle of common good because of one, it promotes equity in our workers by helping out the poor, and two, it creates better distribution of resources. And with these two probable causes of principle good, common good, this will make our society and other societies around the world a much more better place to live. real world example, the OECD Base Erosion and Profit Shifting Initiative has already made strides in reducing tax avoidance. Pillar 2 of the OECD framework proposes a global minimum tax rate of 15%, which limits the incentive for profit shifting. This reform reduces the incentive for profit shifting to tax havens and is expected to generate around 150 billion annually in additional tax revenue. Alright, that was our presentation.
That's the rest of the presentation.
We're done, thank you.